boy.
I know who I am. That moonlight lake told me this is blazing. Still my heart is blazing. If the words kill me, I don't need a new one.
You are a compulsive liar.
No need to be like that. Charles, have I ever lied to you?
I hardly know you.
Exactly.
Multiplayer games versus single-player games. An argument as old as time itself, if time started around the era of Xbox Live. Now, this isn't really a hotly debated topic nowadays. People mostly state that they are side of the internet and ignore everyone else. But every now and then you see a post go viral talking about how video games are dying, and then everyone tags and reposts that person, calling them lame/posers for only playing COD or Madden, and I don't think that's necessarily productive. This is also assuming that you aren't a racist, sexist piece of garbage. Everyone has preferences. Some people prefer to play games by themselves and not really interact with others, and some people like to be more social. Personally, I used to be firmly in the camp of only plays single-player games. For the longest time, I would really balk at the thought of playing any online multiplayer game. Like many, my mind jumped to games like Valorant, which I just didn't see the appeal in. This isn't to say that those games are inherently bad, just that I didn't feel like I was a target audience, and so I swore multiplayer games off in general. During this time, my library consisted of games of all kinds, from games like Fire Emblem Three Houses to games like Dead Space. I played a little bit of everything but multiplayer. But recently, as in the past couple years, I've begun playing more online multiplayer games. And it has been an eye-opening experience. And with experience comes wisdom, or something like that, and with that wisdom came a thought. I enjoy playing games more when I play a mix of both types, single player and multiplayer. Now, not a revolutionary statement by any stretch of the imagination, but I hope I can reach the people who only play one or the other and convince them to try something new. Hi, howdy, hello. My name is Baked Gluten, and I hope you can lend me your ear holes for the next 20 minutes or so I can convince you to play more games. This section is for all the people who were like me, the ones who never even touched a multiplayer game growing up, and the ones who already tried it but didn't like it. As I said before, the first thing that pops into my mind when I think online multiplayer are those super competitive PvP games. And from what I've seen, those can be less than pleasant at times. Again, it ain't my usual cup of tea, but in order to make sure I can accurately speak about this topic, I decided to throw myself into the fire. I decided to play Deadlock is a 6v6 third-person MOBA hero shooter created by Valve, the guys behind Ricochet and Days of Defeat, and like, some sequels or something, I don't know. Now for the uninitiated, a typical Deadlock game plays out like this. After you pick out a character from the roster of wonderful heroes, you are placed into one of three lanes: York, yellow, Broadway, blue, or Greenwich, green, with a lane partner. You fight two other dudes and try to push your tiny battalion of little guys into their towers. Killing the other team's little guys will give you souls, which you could spend on items and upgrades in order to strengthen your character. Objectives will spawn around the map and they will either give you souls, buffs, or sometimes both. Your main goal is to get as strong as possible and take down the other team's towers, eventually making your way to their patron. Once you take down their patron, you win. Easy, right? Well, there are a lot of nuances that I glossed over for the sake of brevity. For example, movement, rolls, boxes, sinner sacrifices, bridge buffs, mid-boss, air vents, melee and parry mechanics, power spikes, golden statues, early, mid, and late game, and don't even get me started on minion manipulation. I think this game is fun, with a capital F, but it's also hard, with a capital hard. It combines a notoriously difficult and long genre of game with a very in-depth movement system, a lot of objectives, micro-efficiencies that you need to get good at in order to compete better, and a tutorial that does not go nearly in-depth enough to cover strategies and fundamentals of MOBAs that people who've played Dota 2 or League already know. But when you get the handle of it, When you finally get to blow people up with a barrel or slap someone so hard their body goes flying, that's when it'll sink its claws into you. It is incredibly fun to finally figure out your character and get good at them. Personally, that came from luring a depressed sheriff. A depressed sheriff named...
Holiday. People are going to tell you that there's a difference between justice and revenge. That you will dishonor the dead by stooping to their killer's level. Ignore them. Revenge isn't for the dead. It's for the living.
80% of playing Holiday is movement first, and then learning how to use her abilities. She isn't really tanky, so you can't stick around for too long, make too many mistakes, and you get obliterated. You have to understand when to approach and when to back off, but you still want to initiate those fights because your movement allows you to get in and out fairly quickly. Your goal as Holiday is to catch someone by themselves, or if you have your ult, drag someone else into your team so you can jump them. You also have to figure out when you get your power spikes, i.e. when your barrels start chunking people's HP, and when you fall off, when your barrels start doing less and less damage. In terms of this character, you want to play more with your team as the match progresses, but you can really mess someone's day up early on, transitioning towards more of a support role towards the end. I've played this character for hours and hours, and look at me now. Mid at best, but I still found playing her to be very enjoyable. The process of learning itself is fun, let alone when you actually start winning. At least I think. I don't win too often, so I wouldn't know. Despite how much I like this character, I know they are not beginner friendly in the slightest, so if you're looking for someone simpler, there are a myriad of characters. Maybe you want to be more of a brawler who can take a punch. Well, I present Billy and Abrams. More of a support player? Well, El Remito and Paige have you covered there. It's about finding which one you enjoy the most. I think that's one of Deadlock's biggest strengths, flexibility, which brings me to another amazing aspect, the itemization. Now I'm not going to get too in depth, but the main point is that the itemization helps you play however you want to. You want to play a sniper as a melee build? Sure, I don't see why not. The support I talked about earlier, give that little gremlin some uranium-filled pillows and let him get to work. It may be off meta, but it's fun, and that's really all that matters. Now you may be asking yourself, why is this dude talking about Deadlock in a video about online multiplayer and single-player games? The reason I chose Deadlock as my example is twofold. One, this game is fun. I've played some multiplayer games before, Marvel Rivals mainly, and I rarely played it by myself. However, this game was able to hook me so thoroughly that I played it for over 400 hours. Most of the time came in solo queue. Just to give you a frame of reference, my favorite game of all time is Baldur's Gate 3, and I've only put around 350 hours into that one. All the mechanics I spoke about earlier aren't inherently unique to Deadlock, but I found them addicting and enjoyable, even when I was getting the brakes beaten off me for the third match in a row. Plus, there is the main draw of games like these, being that it is a super competitive environment where winning feels amazing. There's a reason that these types of games are so popular and have been since the advent of online gaming. There really isn't anything else like it. It's an experience that I would simply have missed out on if I decided to never give multiplayer a try at all. The second reason is because it exemplifies the good and the bad of these kinds of games. The mechanics are well done and skill expression is paramount. The art style is beautiful. We're exploring a 1950s style New York with occult symbolism everywhere and allusions to literary fiction around every corner. Victor is literally just Frankenstein's monster, but they gave him a cool twist in the fact that he understands his nature as a pile of sewn together corpses. His main goal is to use the ritual... Wait, I haven't explained the lore. Hold on. Okay, so as to not bog down this review too much, in lore, the actual game of Deadlock is the ritual itself. By defeating the enemy patron, your own patron will grant everyone who helped a wish/favor. Every character is there for their own reasons. The aforementioned Victor is there looking for information on who his creator is, and Rem is looking for a way to get back to his home dimension. And our good friend Holiday is there looking for information on the Troubadour, a man who slaughtered her hometown of Macomb. In-game, there are a lot of interactions between characters that give you this information and help flesh out the lore and world. However, as this game is in early access, there are still some interactions that are missing / are going to be fixed later.
Yeah, I'm a work in progress. Pick me.
The characters, while not entirely polished, are all unique and have lots of, well, personality. I fell in love with these guys, and it's one of the main factors bringing me back to the game time and time again. Characters like Ivy and Viscus are dripping with charm, while still having some more hidden underneath the surface. It's not an exaggeration to say that a lot of the reason that so many people love this game is for the characters. I took a month-long break from the game itself, and even then, I still found myself drawing for the characters because they're so memorable. On the flip side, it suffers from one of the things that all competitive games suffer from: pressure. In games like these, you need to perform or else you risk failing your entire team. And some people simply don't like that environment, and even after hours and hours of Deadlock, it's not something I particularly love either. From what I've seen online, many agree with the sentiment that it feels far worse to fail in a competitive game than it does in a single-player one. Now, of course, this feels fairly obvious, but what it means in the sense of playing the game itself is that failure just sucks much more. You could die a million times to a boss in Hollow Knight, but in that case, you don't have someone yelling in your ear for not playing all that well. And even in cases where no one bothers to enable their mics, the sense of uselessness can be pretty unappealing. I know this seems like a skill issue, but yeah, it kind of is. Not everyone is good at video games, people have different backgrounds, and not everyone has time to devote to a game they're just gonna keep failing at. Obviously, the better you are, the less you'll get yelled at, but some people just don't like that experience in their games at all. The inevitable downfall of interacting with people is that you'll eventually run into people who kinda just suck. And even when you don't, it can sometimes feel like you're letting everyone down, especially when those matches are 40 minutes long or longer. It's something I experienced with Deadlock. There were days where I just didn't want to play anymore. I lost a lot, progress slowed, and as other stuff started to occupy my life more and more, I wanted to play it less and less. This is still an extremely well-made game, and a lot of that burnout was likely a result of simply overplaying it. But another part of it was just feeling horrible if I performed poorly, and that just comes with competitive titles. I can confidently say you should at least try this game. It can be tough, and the learning curve can be steep, but I think you should stick with it. Trying it can introduce you to something you never thought you'd like. While you do need an invite, the Deadlock Discord server is more than happy to provide one. Plus, it's free, so you really don't have anything to lose. I will probably return to Deadlock in the future. Hell, I kind of already did in order to record footage for this video. But I can understand the frustration from people who simply don't like it. So what then? You see, the beauty of gaming is that there's always something out there for everyone. I think one of the coolest things to come out of gaming are the fandoms and communities that form just because so many people love the game. And I think the games that exemplify this the best are co-op multiplayer ones. In a day and age where third places are basically non-existent and people are feeling more isolated than ever, something that could help bring us together are these types of games. One unusual example that I found myself playing a lot recently is Risk. Developed by Hopo Games and published by Gearbox, Risk of Rain 2 is a third-person roguelike shooter. Not a game that one usually thinks of when talking about multiplayer games, but hear me out for a sec. Risk of Rain 2 has a multiplayer function that fulfills this idea of cooperation and togetherness. Gather up a group of friends and go to town on Petrichor 5, wading through waves and waves of, well, I would say aliens, but you're the one coming into their home, so... A typical game goes like this. Select characters, get items, find portal to next level, fight boss at portal, go through portal, rinse and repeat the past 3 steps. The pace you go at is in your hands, so you can decide to either have a casual stroll through the planet on drizzle, an intense fight on monsoon, or a happy medium with rainstorm. Me and a couple buddies usually spend some time at the end of the day just trying to complete some rainstorm runs. Obviously we aren't amazing at it, but we still have fun either doing challenges or dying while trying to get achievements. It's half chaotic and half relaxing and let the pressure of a competitive game. We may sometimes get really excited, but it's all in good fun. Even during challenge runs, we aren't screaming at each other for not performing well. There are other games that fulfill this role too, whether it be something on the more relaxing side like Minecraft, or perhaps something a tad more energetic in Helldivers 2. The main point is that feeling of cooperativeness and community, whether you get that from turning strangers into friends, or just enjoying some time with people you already know. The point I wanted to make when it comes to games like this is that they are simply a way to make those connections, on top of being extremely fun. To get a bit personal for a sec, I tend to feel isolated from people because I'm a bit of an introvert. On top of that, in the past couple years, I even felt disconnected from some of my longest time friends simply because our schedules didn't align. I drifted away from people I'd known for years because there wasn't really a way to connect. I was busy in my own life and going out to see them wasn't really an option. I know it may sound silly, but being able to bond over video games basically brought them back into my life. Multiplayer doesn't have to mean endless frustration or competition. It can mean so many other things. Now, this seems pretty obvious, but with how popular competitive games are, it can be easy to forget about everything else. You often see more competitive games get that spotlight, and even when the cooperative games show up, they're usually more of a fad than a mainstay. Cooperative games like Risk of Rain 2 have a purpose regardless of this fact. For me, it helped me maintain friendships, and for others, it helped create ones. For all the people like me, the ones who just want to stick to a single-player game, it's worth it to get out of your comfort zone. Not only so you could find new games to love and enjoy, but also for the people you'll meet along the way. I know making friends can be difficult, especially for those of us who are less socially inclined. But I think it's far easier to be that social butterfly if you're doing something you enjoy with others. Now, I think I've been praising multiplayer games for a tad too long. So now, let's talk about something I have a lot more experience with. For all the e-daters and comp fiends out there, I know playing by yourself sounds like hell on earth, but avoiding these games simply limits the scope to which you can enjoy video games in general. There are games out there that are worthy of attention that some people may never play because of this distaste for playing alone, and I think that's a shame. Of course, community and playing with friends is important. I didn't forget the section I wrote earlier, but taking the time to enjoy something on your own can be equally important in a different way. I think a crucial aspect of these games that many people who only play multiplayer are missing is story. Oftentimes, multiplayer games like the aforementioned Deadlock do have lore behind them, but that really starts and ends with facilitating the gameplay and characters. While not all single-player games are these rich stories and adventures, there are quite a few games that blend the magic of storytelling with the fun of playing a game. One game that I loved, both story-wise and gameplay-wise, was the out-of-the-blue smash hit, Expedition 33.
You know they gave their lives to lay the trail for us, right?
Fair warning, I will be spoiling the first hour of this game for the purposes of discussing what I believe makes it, and other games like it, so wonderful. For those of you who already intend on playing Expedition 33, I suggest you skip ahead and come back after your first hour or so of game. For everyone I still need to convince, I think you should stick around, at least to hear me out. Every year, around the same time, a giant named the Paintress carves a new number onto a monolith. Anyone over the age of the number dies. You, as Gustave, are tasked with going on an expedition to the monolith in order to take down the Paintress and save the city of Lumiere. The game begins on the day of the gommage, the day before the expedition sets out. Gustave just staring out onto the monolith, basically telling you, the player, where this whole journey is heading. We see Ismael comes and calls Gustave away from his solitude, and they share a quick but important exchange.
If you're gonna give someone flowers, you should probably do it before they wither and die.
What, the flower? Or Sophie?
Ooh, dark. Sophie would approve.
It gives context for the world, an idea for the relationship, one that is playful and clearly gives younger sibling vibes. It also gives us a dark reminder for the world these characters live in, while also setting a key message of this expedition. Others failed, but they paved the way for us to succeed.
And soon, we'll get to do a lot more than throw rocks.
That's what all the other expeditions said.
Hey, you know they gave their lives to lay the trail for us, right?
Yeah, I know. So,
But before all that, before the grand adventure that awaits us, we have something to do. Or more accurately, Gustave has something to do. But he's nervous. Something that makes him change from John Expedition 33 to an actual person. We will fight for our lives in the coming days, but today, as he said, he will try and enjoy his uselessness. And he will try to talk to Sophie, someone he loved, and someone he hasn't talked to in 3 years. But first, we beat up a child. Thanks for the XP, Mael. Something that I love about this prologue is how human Sophie and Gustave are. You can see their relationship in all the words that are and aren't spoken. You can see how anxious he is in their awkwardness, but even through that, you can see that they still love each other. Maybe they would be together had things been different, had there been another path, but things aren't different.
I never faulted you for wanting to believe. You're fighting to change things.
Gustave still believes in the expedition, and Sophie...
Walk me to the harbor?
All they could do now is head to the harbor as the clock ticks forward and their celebration of who will soon depart continues. As the two arrive, they are approached by Gustave's students, and he is given his expedition uniform. It was altered by Sophie so he wouldn't have to constantly roll up his sleeves. A final gift before the world cruelly reminds them what story they're in.
here.
You are never directly told what the homage is, which makes sense when you consider the fact that Gustav would already know. You are, however, given small hints towards this. Gustav's joke about Sophie expiring before the flower is one. The line, "won't rob anyone else's future," is another. You hear it directly in the context of talking to Sophie, if that wasn't hint enough. The game is subtly bashing you over the head, telling you that her time is up. This festival is for the ones who will soon depart for the monolith, but also for the ones who will soon depart from this world. The game lets it go unspoken, so when this moment comes, it hits that much harder. I tried to do the same for all of you who absolutely disregarded that spoiler warning. Don't worry, I do the same. But experiencing this through YouTube will never be on par with how well it was executed in game, especially because of how unique video games are when it comes to storytelling. Where in a movie, this would be all you get. By engaging with the game, you get extra nuggets of details that make the world richer and all the more devastating. By talking to NPCs, you get to realize a couple things. The first being the scope of impact that Sophie had on the community. Sure, the writer could tell you how important she was, but by having her say goodbye to the other denizens of Lumiere and having final conversations with them, it feels all the more real and visceral. You could tell that people really loved and cared about her and that she was someone that many looked up to. Additionally, you could find out why Gustav and Sophie broke up in the first place, despite still being in love to this day. While talking to the NPC Marie, she will condemn Sophie for not having kids, to which she replies,
I am not selfish enough to bring others into our doomed world. I know we are not many to think like this now, and it destroyed my relationship with the person I loved the most. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to spend this moment with him, and you should cherish this moment with your daughter.
Sorry. See you at the harbor.
Good luck, Mary.
Gustav wanted kids, but Sophie didn't. It gives her talk throughout Sophie's final hour all the more weight. Earlier, she called Gustav stubborn and commented on how she didn't blame him for still believing in a future. That was about the expedition and the children. Later on the docks, Gustav says that Sophie taught him that there are more ways to leave a legacy. Again, if you pay attention, Expedition 33 is subtly curb-stomping you with this information. It's all there for you when you engage with the game. It also brings up an interesting question for you to think about. Would you have kids in this situation? Sophie was 33 when she died. Going by that timeline, she would have been 29 at the time of her and Gustav's breakup. If they were to have a kid, Sophie would only live long enough to see them become 3. That child like the others that were left alone on that port, would grow up in a foster home for whatever time Lumiere had left. Would you subject them to that? Or would you believe, like Gustav, that one of the expeditions would eventually succeed, and that you and everyone else are fighting for their future, for that child's future? This point is especially crucial when you consider Lumiere's dwindling numbers. There are only so many people left to sustain the city as more and more people die to the Gommage and more expeditions fail. In essence, will you stubbornly rally against the world ahead of you, or will you accept the inevitable and spend that time with the ones you love? The beginning of this game hooked me in a way that many others have not. There's a reason that it won Game of the Year, and it's definitely something I want to speak on in more detail in a later video. But for the sake of this video, we won't go beyond the opening hours. Please, try this game if you haven't already. Story-driven single-player games are such a unique experience because of what they offer through the medium they are told in. They can present things that a book or TV show can't. You could walk through Lumiere, and you could choose to talk to the people of the city and converse with them. You get to make that choice. Games that function like Expedition 33 are able to tell heartbreaking stories and deliver moral discussions through using the strengths of their medium. The fact that you are in control makes it such a different beast. It is up to you what you want to figure out and what to look deeper into. There's also the more obvious point, the fact that you are making the decisions. Depending on the game, you can enforce your own will on the story and characters. You decide what happens, and that's something that most other mediums can't really do. Oh, on top of the story, the gameplay for Expedition 33 is amazing. Sure, a big stink was made over the fact that it's a turn-based RPG, and I can understand it to some extent, but if someone tries to say that Expedition 33 is bad because it's turn-based, I think that they need to, play the game. Instead of being a standard turn-based game, you have an active role in the fight. Even an unoptimal underleveled team can beat a hard boss if you, the player, are skilled enough. The system is dynamic, with each turn being like a dance between you and the enemy. First you attack, making sure to time your presses in order to give you as much damage as possible. Then your enemy attacks, you can dodge, which gives you more leeway on timing, or you can parry the whole combo, resulting in beautifully animated counterattacks. The game even has a mechanic called perfect dodge. This just means that your dodge has the same timing as the parry. This also allows someone to learn to fight with easier timing before going to the riskier play of parrying the entire attack string. And even when you think that you have the timing down, you could still slip up and lose. Trust me, it's happened a lot. It may be annoying at first, but when you finally get that parry on that stupid boss that has been caving your face in for the past 5 or more attempts, there's no better feeling. Speaking of encounters, every single enemy you fight has a different attack pattern, and even when you fight the same enemy, they are often shuffled into different combinations to keep you on your toes. Basically, not every fight is the same, and that on-the-fly learning and adaptation to the fight is what makes it fun. Now, don't think that the enemies are the only things that are changed about this game. Every character also has unique features that make their role on the team very different. Alongside this, the game has a mechanic called Picto and Lumina, which make it so you could spec into the build you want. Basically, you're in control here. Now, this is all fine and dandy, but it sounds like I've just been praising Expedition 33 for like the past, 11 minutes straight. So, what's the point? Should you play Expedition 33? Yeah, have you been paying attention? On a more serious note, the main point of this whole section is that single-player games are such a unique experience that are absolutely worth trying, or if you didn't like it in the past, trying again. Yes, there are stinkers, and sometimes you won't buy with certain genres, but that's just how it goes. You're listening to a dude who doesn't particularly like open world games, but there are whole stories and experiences that you're missing out on if you decide to basically dump a whole type of game. Hell, recently I completed Red Dead Redemption 2, and I absolutely loved it. This praise for it despite the fact that I despise open world games. It was an amazing experience that I wouldn't have had if I decided to simply not play it. Now, what makes it so great? A discussion for another time. What I'm trying to say is that single-player games have been around for a lot longer than multiplayer. You're bound to find something you like, and hell, take a chance on something you think you wouldn't like. Maybe you'll get a pleasant surprise. Assuming, you can afford to do that. Or, Throughout this video, I've been trying to bridge the gap between people who prefer one type of game to another because I've been there before. I used to be the type of person who wouldn't ever dream of touching an online multiplayer game. But after actually trying it out, I found that there are merits to the other side of this argument. I value multiplayer games as a form of connection between me and the people I care about, alongside just straight up being fun, and I find myself enjoying single player games for their stories and characters more often than not, while still enjoying the gameplay itself. Both are very important to me, and I feel like my life would look very different if either of these things were changed. What I'm trying to say is that you gotta take risks. Go play around at Deadlock with friends, or maybe try something like Expedition 33 for yourself. Explore, get out of your comfort zone. And that applies to that one person watching this who doesn't play games at all. I don't know why you're here, but I'm glad. In fact, go try games, please. I promise they're worth your time. Whether it be something competitive or a story game, go try it. Games are an art form. They may look, sound, and feel different from what we consider traditional art, but they matter, to me and to so many others. Try it. I promise you're opening yourself up to some wonderful and at times heartbreaking experiences. So yeah, that's all I got. Get out of your comfort zone and go play video games. Aren't I just an amazing role model? Hi, thank you for watching my video. It's the first one I've ever made, or at least published on YouTube. So I hope you guys liked it. Um, I do a bunch of art stuff on my social medias if you guys want to go check that out. Oh, also art fights coming up. So if you want to participate with that, or like if you're an artist and you want me to potentially art fight you, here's my social. Same as my YouTube, Baked Gluten. All right, bye bye.